I've been waiting 7.5 months to say this. We're ready to reveal our 2022 FanDuel Week 1 cash and GPP lineup, and it's coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lay.
And I'm Michael Wiley, and we're the Fantasy Football Consultants.
Well, what a busy preseason we have. We'll put up all the mini shows that we had in our preseason where we did a deep dive into key metrics for success in the 4 major positions. We also did, Michael and I, both on DraftKings for week 1 and FanDuel for week 1, a deep dive in each of the positions. In addition, if you're an NFL Survivor fan, check out that show. All these shows are in the description. We also give you key strategy shows. And our best strategy show is our NFL Master Class series, where we give you all the tips and strategies to select the right quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and defense in cash games and GPP. Please sure to check out those videos if you haven't yet.
And always, please hit that like button. Let us know you like what's going on. Share this video and other videos with your friends. And if you haven't yet, please hit the red subscribe button.
All right,
let's go into the studio, right?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, Michael, on this channel, we always start at running back because traditionally running backs return their value more than any other. So if, and I say if, we choose to pay up, we want to make sure we have the money to do so. So do we want to pay up, Michael?
Gosh, well, it's really tempting in a cash game to make sure you really have that maximum floor. Super pricey, right? Some of these guys, but you look at what you get for saving a couple $1,000s, and it's a pretty steep drop off. I don't know that I feel comfortable not having one of these workhorses in the backfield. What do you think?
Yeah, I do think you have to. That's kind of the thought process that Michael and I said, that you have to pick one of these top 4. And ultimately, the guy that we clearly like the most is Jonathan Taylor. But the question becomes, is he worth that $800? Is he worth that $700 over McCaffrey and $500 over Henry? And our conclusion was yes. And why do we say that? Well, look, he just checks off all the boxes. He is got a tremendous matchup. You want to have a running back who's favored. He's an 8-point favorite. That's the highest favorite in week 1 in the NFL. You also want to face a terrible defense. Yeah, last year they were 31 against the run. And you want a guy that is premium. He's a premium guy. He's number 1 in all fantasy football drafts for a reason. And I think he's in a great situation because not only is he individually talented, he's surrounded by a great offensive line. And well, how do we know that he's going to do so well against Houston? Well, look what he did last year against Houston, scoring 24 fantasy points and 28 against Houston in the 2 games before. Nothing is a sure thing, Michael, in daily fantasy football, but this is as close to it as it gets.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think it's hard to pass up. I don't think there's quite the guarantee with the other 3 backs as there is with Jonathan Taylor, given the matchup. Let's spend the extra bucks and live with the pain.
Yeah, and I just would say Henry and McCaffrey, I think they're great, but they're also coming off serious injuries from the previous year. So you just don't have that concern with Taylor. All right, so again, the pushback is we spent $10,200. That's a lot of money. So we really have to be cost conscious the rest of the way. So Michael, unfortunately, as much as we tried to do the jam in, we can't afford one of the other 4 top guys. So who's our running back 2 on our team?
Yeah, and actually, I just want to make sure we say this. I think that we still couldn't have gone with 2, even if we dipped down and just took Taylor out. And so just make sure you hear that, at least the way we approach the rest of the lineup. So let's go down a little bit and look for something that's a fair amount less expensive. Keep going, keep going, keep going. There you go. Let's stop right there at Aaron Jones. My eyes are fooling me. $7,400. So a couple $1,000s less, or than the cheaper end of that high end. And let's talk a little bit about what Aaron Jones has done when Davante Adams has not been in the lineup. He's been an absolute target and receptions monster. When Adams was out, he averaged close to 4.5 catches and 6 targets. I think 48.5 receiving yards, and 23 at least PPR points per game. So, Aaron Jones picks up that in addition to being, he's sharing time with Dylan in the backfield. But I just think the passing part of the game makes him the clear number one. And at this price, I just think it's going to be where Aaron Rodgers is most comfortable. What do you think?
No, I agree with everything that you said, Michael. Just throw in that I like the game environment. I mean, he's got a 25 implied total. It is expected to be a shootout, one of the top 4 high scoring over unders. And Minnesota's defense last year was no bueno. So I like this call, and I like the savings that we get. So $7,400. All right, let's switch over to wide receiver. And as much as I may like Davante Adams and Samuel and Chase, we can't afford them. The guy that we would have paid up for would have been Justin Jefferson. But I'm going to save us some money here because we need it. At only 6,100. Let's see if I feel like a car dealer. This is what I got for you, Michael. I can get you into a $6,100 vehicle, a number 1 wide receiver on a team that is expected to score a lot of points this week. Sound pretty good? Who am I talking about at $6,100? It is Rashad Bateman. Man, Hollywood Brown and his 146 targets have been moved to Arizona. So someone is going to pick up that slack, and I absolutely believe Rashad Bateman is going to do a large part of picking up that slack. And as I kind of referenced, he plays a New York Jet defense that was 31st against the pass. There's only 32 teams, folks. They actually gave up the most total points of anybody in the NFL. Rashad Bateman, I just love him individually, and I think that FanDuel has completely disrespected him, giving him away at $6,100.
Yeah, no, I agree. He looked really good towards the end of the year last year. I think that there's a nice connection between Jackson and Bateman. So I like this, especially in this week 1, given the circumstances in Baltimore.
Yeah, circumstances being that their top 2 running backs coming from serious injuries last year look like they will not be playing this year, which means they're probably going to rely more on the pass than they otherwise would have. All right.
That's right.
What other wide receiver do we want to pick? And I'm going to put some caveats. I want him to be cheap, and I want him to be a number 1 wide receiver.
All right. And I think that's the only way we should be going. And so I'm going to keep with that Jonathan Taylor thought and go with the run it back guy, which is Brandin Cooks. And so if you go back and look, so he's a little bit more expensive than Bateman, but still in the lower cost range. When the current quarterback Mills was under center, Cook was, I think, top 15, 16 wide receiver during those games. And I think Cooks ended with 8.4 targets per game, which was, again, top 15 in the league. So while he was getting some of those shorter dump offs, and this is half PPR, I just think that the volume will be rewarded. So I like this price tag. What do you think, Eric?
I like it. And in case you're wondering how much Houston values him, they just re-signed him for a 2-year contract for $40 million. So $20 million a year. Obviously, they're going to continue to feature him as they have done in the past. So at 6,600, if I can just offer, just in case there's some people out there that just aren't quite smelling what we're cooking with Brandin Cooks, at the same price, both Michael and I like Mike Williams as well. You get exposure to that really high scoring Las Vegas, LA Charger game. And look, in my humble opinion, Mike Williams is going to be the number 1 wide receiver on the Chargers this year. And before you go, what about Keenan Allen? Mike Williams is younger. He's faster. He got more yards per catch last year. He got more yards total last year, and he got more touchdowns. So all that for also $6,600. So I'm almost ambivalent, Michael, between Mike Williams and Brandin Cooks, either way that they want to go.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Raiders offense has been really sharp in preseason, so they're going to come out really aggressive, which means that Los Angeles is going to have to throw the ball.
All right, so wrapping up our last wide receiver at $6,400. You're thinking Juju Smith? No, that's some bad juju there. Let's go with DJ Moore at $6,400. Look, this guy is going to be, there's no question, he was 6th in the entire NFL last year in targets. Sam Darnold was throwing to him all the time. The problem, though, Sam Darnold wasn't the most accurate quarterback. According to Pro Football Focus, he finished 32nd in pass accuracy, dead last. The good news is Sam Darnold's not the starting quarterback. It's Baker Mayfield, and Baker Mayfield was 12th in pass accuracy last year. So I think DJ Moore is going to really benefit from that. Number 1 wide receiver with a quality quarterback. What more can you ask for?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the last 3 years in a row, he's been over 1,150 yards. As you mentioned, Mayfield creates an upgrade. The real issue for Moore has been that he wasn't finding the end zone. And I think Baker Mayfield improves that possibility, making him even more interesting than the prior years.
If you want to criticize this, the only thing that I don't like is I'm worried, Deshaun Watson's not playing. So I'm worried that Cleveland will kind of try to slow the game down with Jacoby Brissett, do a lot of running, which will reduce the number of plays that are in this game. But $6,400 is too cheap for DJ Moore. All right, so look at that. 3 number 1 wide receivers we got. Where are we going to go from here? Let's talk tight end, Michael.
Well, I think let's stay with this spirit of saving money. You look there, right there at the top, and you see Kelsey and then Andrews. I think Andrews is a pretty enticing play for the things that we mentioned when we were talking about Bateman, and especially since the Jets are so horrible against tight ends. Andrews is going to be the clear number 1 for Lamar Jackson. But let's see if we can't save some money. I think Pitts is just not cheap enough here like he is in what I think it was the Yahoo League where we saw him so inexpensive. So we got to scroll down a little bit to get into the lower dollar range for tight ends. And there's a guy here. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep on going. Don't you like this savings that you're hearing with this right here at $5,000? Cole Kmet. I think Cole Kmet may see the most improvement of pretty much any pass catcher in the NFL, because of the fact that Jimmy Graham has moved on. I think Cole Kmet's the clear number 2 for Justin Fields in Chicago. And because Graham is gone, that means that Fields will be looking to Kmet for some touchdown passes. That's really where Kmet hurt you last year. He did just fine with receptions and yards, but he didn't produce at the goal line.
Yeah, I like his consistency last year, and some more targets are up for grabs with Allen Robinson down in LA. All right, so let's just kind of check in here. We can spend $6,100 between the last 3 players on average. So let's take a look at quarterback. So Michael, at quarterback, there are 3 guys that I consider pretty attractive this week. They're all are similar. They all supplement their game with rushing, and they can pass. But due to their situation, there's a certain amount of comfort level I have. So the lowest comfort level at $7,500 is Trey Lance. $500 more is Jalen Hurts, and $500 more than that is Lamar Jackson. What's your thoughts?
Well, I just don't think the $1,000 savings is worth it here. I mean, if it was I would expect a bigger drop. I'm especially for Lance. I can't believe he's only $1,000 less than Lamar Jackson. I would have expected it to be a much more significant differential. Even Jalen Hurts, I think, Jalen Hurts with where he was priced last year, you're thinking, hey, this is a great matchup. This should be a good opportunity. And then you go see the $8,000 price tag. So to me, it's Lamar Jackson at the Jets. You just know that that's a good opportunity for him to start the season right. I think Baltimore is going to be very strong this year, although they are missing some players this week. They need to go out and show right away. They're not going to play nice with the Jets. I think they should really take advantage, take this spread and run with it. And Lamar Jackson, to use the run with it theme, is the guy to make sure that happens, and he'll have to use his legs, I think, a little bit this week.
Yeah, let's not forget that in 2019 and 2020, he ran for 1,000 yards. Last year, he was on track after halfway through the season to once again run for 1,000 yards, and then he got injured. So he's completely healthy now. So with both Gus Edwards and probably J.K. Dobbins out, I think that they'll rely on him to throw the ball more. What is really impressive about Lamar Jackson is that he, inside the 10, he completes 48% of his passes. And as a coach, Michael, I give two reasons for that. And I want your opinion as a coach. One is I think that defenses have to be worried that he may take off running. So they're always protecting against that. And two, he has such a huge target around the end zone in Mark Andrews that he can dump the ball off to. What are your thoughts about how well he does around the goal line?
Yeah, and you hit on the two key points. The other thing is when a guy's been so mobile his whole career, he's used to throwing on the run. And so even when he's in that 10-yard range, what allows for you to open up the field is using your legs, moving outside the pocket, or at least having that threat that, like you say, means that teams are going to have to, play a much more strategic defense, and that opens things up for easier throws.
All right. And if we haven't mentioned it, he's facing the Jets. one
Exactly.
more. You can see how tough they were last year, both against the run and the pass and overall.
And that eats some dollars up for us, but as you know, as people know who've watched our show, we always are willing to punt on defense if we need to do that to save some dollars.
Yes, and spoiler alert, that's exactly what we're going to do. Let's. Are you ready to punt? Get the punter out. Set, hut, hike, and guess who's at the bottom? The Raiders. Now I want to make sure that people understand. I kind of like the Vikings more, and I was ready to use them at 3,200. It's not that we automatically, but we needed the money, and we simply are not going to go down in the players. So we'll just pick the defense to drop down. But can I ask you, Michael, it's your Raiders. Is there anything that you can come up with besides the fact that they're only $3,000 that you can say is positive about your Raiders defense?
Well, I'm just offended that they're priced lower than the Jets and Houston and some of these other teams that are not only horrible but playing good teams. So okay, the Raiders have been rough in getting sacks. Their defensive backfield has not been great. They've been one of the worst rushing defenses. They have made some improvement, and they've looked pretty good in terms of health coming out of the preseason because they've rested all their starters.
Okay.
So what does that mean? I think that they can do as well as all those other teams at the bottom of the list.
Okay, I'll summarize. The Raiders are healthy. They suck, but they'll be healthy as they suck. All right. So let's see. What does that do for us? When we go to flex, see who are the players that we can pick up our $6,800. We were immediately drawn to Saquon Barkley and Antonio Gibson. I would have definitely gone Saquon Barkley because I was a few days ago because I was concerned about Brian Johnson eating into Antonio Gibson's role. Unfortunately, because it's a terrible story due to an armed robbery attempt, he was actually shot It's not life-threatening, but he is not going to be able to play football in the near future, certainly not in game one. I'm talking about Brian Johnson. So it's going back to the same backfield as last year. Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick. McKissick's role is very clear. He is the third down back, and if they fall way behind, he is going to be in the game on every down as they play catch up. And guess what? You have to be really careful with Antonio Gibson when you start him. For example, the Dallas game, they lost that game by it was 56-14. It got completely out of hand. So the fact that Gibson did terrible was not surprising. So you have to ask yourself, do you expect Washington at home to be leading and controlling this game against the Jacksonville Jaguars? I think they're 3.5-point favorites. I do. If you do, then I think Antonio Gibson is an excellent pick. That's my big concern. If game script gets away from them, this is going to be bad. But I don't think it will. And oh, by the way, Jacksonville doesn't do great against the rush last year.
Yeah, and the Washington's defense is not too bad actually, and so this game, I don't see Jacksonville putting up a lot of points. I think this is the one of those games where Gibson will get they'll be able to pound the rock.
Yeah, it was interesting, Michael. When I finished this particular lineup, I went and looked and said, what if we went at quarterback, and what if we went to a Jalen Hurts, that $500? How can I allocate that $500 to make up for the fact that I think we have a drop from Jackson to Hurts? Wasn't able to do it. I'm a big fan of Zach Ertz. I couldn't even get from Cole Kmet to Zach Ertz because that's $600. So this is the lineup that we're going with. Why don't we take a peek at our GPP lineup? All right, so here is my GPP lineup. Remember, folks, anytime you play GPP, you have to stack. Why? Because in GPP, you're looking to get that high ceiling. The reason you play GPP is to finish in that top 10%, 5%, or really 0.1% to win any real life-changing money. So because of that, I've decided to pick on one of the most high-scoring games of the week, which is Las Vegas and the LA Chargers, 52 over and under. And I'm going to pick Justin Herbert, who is just a plain stud in real life, to, I think, his best weapon, Mike Williams. Not only is Mike Williams his best weapon, he's the one who has the highest ceiling, because when he goes off, he really goes off, where Keenan Allen is more of a possession receiver and doesn't quite have the ceiling. And I'm going to throw that in with Gerald Everett, their recent acquisition at tight end. Jared Cook is gone. And running that back with Hunter Renfrow at a very reasonable $5,900 price. What do you think of that game, Michael? You're a big Raider guy.
Yeah, where's the Raiders here? You got one Raider, the cheaper one, because you just had to have somebody that was cheap, basically, is what you just said. I think this is the safer route to go. We don't know what Devontae Adams is going to do. We don't know how that's going to affect Darren Waller, who may not even play this week. I think Hunter Renfrow is a great choice. Like him a little bit more in PPR leagues. But yeah, I agree. Mike Williams is, I think, the highest upside at the receiver side there. And, I think Everett is, kind of a nice price tight end there who could, he's always been more capable than he's performed. So I'd like to see that upside come to play.
Yeah. And yeah, Renfro's 2,600 less than Adams. So you get a huge savings there. I also think if you do GPP, it's always great to have a mini stack, another high scoring game, getting two weapons, preferably that are part of a passing game, that are going back and forth on opposite teams. And I'm picking on the Green Bay, Minnesota game. Aaron Jones, who we already talked about, who we think without Devontae Adams on the team should get heavily involved, not only running, but receiving as well. And then running it back with a true talent, the clear number one receiver now on Minnesota, Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, and maybe the number one receiver in the league. Obviously, Cooper Kupp had that phenomenal season last year. But for him, Justin Jefferson would be right there at the top. And, he's a second-year guy, so it could be really, really fun year for him.
So another stack that this lineup features is, if you think a team's going to win, pick their running back and their defense, because if they can get up, then they'll just run the ball more and more. And the defense is going to get more points likely from a team that's trying to come from behind because they're going to pass a lot, because all sacks, all interceptions, and a majority of the fumbles occur in the passing game. So I'm picking Washington. So we already talked about Antonio Gibson and the value that he has when his team is up. And you talked briefly about that Washington defense at $3,700. I am a little heartbroken, Michael, that Chase Young will be out for this game and he'll miss the first 4 games. But this Jacksonville offense, I'll just be kind, is unproven. So let's see. We might be able to take advantage of them struggling in week 1.
Yep. No, I mean, Travis Etienne, I think, helps things out a little bit for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think, having their quarterback be a second-year guy can, be helpful, but they're going to have another tough season.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence. All right, so the last guy is in our flex is James Conner. I wanted to get some exposure, Michael, to the other super high-scoring game of the week, Kansas City and Arizona. And we get that with James Conner. We've talked a lot at length about the fact that Arizona doesn't have a lot of weapons, even though they're expected to score a lot. Christian Kirk is gone. Chase Edmonds was traded. And DeAndre Hopkins has been suspended. So if you think Arizona is going to score a lot of points, and the lines makers do, you got to expect James Conner will be a part of it, and he certainly has a high ceiling.
Yeah, those missing pieces, I think, makes his upside all the more, and that's what we're going with GPP.
Yeah, what a goal line presence he is. All right, so that is our GPP lineup.
We'll see you later, everybody. Stay safe.
All right, take care, everybody. You will see on your screen a video we did for FanDuel, a deep dive by position, breaking down week 1.